Today we are fact-checking the headlines and giving you a practical guide to what is really changing in United Kingdom visas right now. You may have seen claims that the UK has started banning visas for whole countries.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. Nothing but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
The truth is more nuanced. There have been tough new warnings from the Home Office, some real policy shifts that affect specific nationalities, and a major enforcement push against employers who break the rules. But an across-the-board blanket visa ban has not been imposed. Let's unpack what is actually confirmed, why the government is talking about visa restrictions, and how any of this could affect your travel, study, or work plans in the months ahead, using only credible sources. The most important headline came in early September when the new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, said the United Kingdom could suspend or restrict visas for countries that refuse to take back their citizens after their asylum claims are refused.
But we will be setting out our plans in the very near future about how we want to deal with the pull factors. The Prime Minister has also been clear. We have got to deal not just with disrupting the trade in people that is bringing people across the Channel, but we've also got to deal with some of the reasons why they're getting in the boat in the first place, looking to come to the UK.
This was not a ban announced that day. It was a policy threat and a negotiating signal. Her remarks came at a Five Eyes meeting with counterparts from the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and were reported by the Financial Times, The Guardian, and Reuters the same day. The core message was simple. If a country does not cooperate on returns, the UK is prepared to use visa leverage. That is a real shift in tone from the new government, but it is still a conditional warning rather than an enacted ban. To understand why this is happening, it helps to look at the political and operational context. The UK has faced sustained public pressure over irregular migration, particularly the small boat crossings in the English Channel. Ministers say they want faster removals of people who have no legal right to remain. The Home Secretary's warning is meant to push countries to speed up paperwork for returns. Again, this is not yet a list of countries under legal ban. It is a tool on the table, publicly signaled to change behavior. While that warning dominated the headlines, there are concrete actions that did take effect elsewhere in the system. One of the clearest examples is the removal of visa-free travel for nationals of Trinidad and Tobago. As of Wednesday, the 12th of March 2025, the UK introduced a visa requirement for all visitors from Trinidad and Tobago, with a grace period that ended on Wednesday, the 23rd of April 2025. That change is documented on the official government guidance and corroborated by reputable immigration law briefings. If you are a Trinidad and Tobago national, you now must apply for a UK visa before travel. The previous visa-free entry no longer applies. This is not a ban on all visas. It is the opposite. It is the start of a requirement to obtain a visa in advance. Another area where the government has moved from words to deeds is enforcement against employers who sponsor overseas workers. The Home Office announced that between July 2024 and June 2025 it revoked 1,948 sponsor licenses, more than double the 937 licenses revoked in the previous 12 months. Revoking a sponsor license does not prevent an individual from applying for a visa through another compliant employer, but it does immediately stop the offending company from bringing in new sponsored workers. This is not a visa ban, but it has very real consequences in parts of the labor market and can disrupt genuine applicants if their sponsoring employer loses permission to sponsor. The figure, the time frame, and the policy intent are all set out in the official news release and reflected in specialist immigration briefings. So where does that leave the big question people keep asking? Has the UK banned visas for certain nationalities lately? Based on the latest reliable reporting, the answer is no, not as a sweeping, blanket ban. What we do have is an explicit warning of possible visa suspensions directed at governments that do not cooperate on returns, combined with targeted changes like the end of visa-free entry for Trinidad and Tobago and a tougher stance on sponsor compliance. The difference matters. A ban would mean you cannot get a visa at all. A suspension or restriction could mean longer processing, fewer categories, or tighter quotas. A removal of visa-free travel simply means you must apply in advance and be vetted before boarding a plane. The sources make these distinctions clear. Let's talk through the practical implications if you are planning travel, study, or work in the United Kingdom. If you are from a country that previously enjoyed visa-free visits, do not assume that is still true. For Trinidad and Tobago nationals, the visa-free regime ended. The guidance says a visa is now required for all visits and for airside transit after the transition. Always check the government's travel nationality pages and apply in advance. If you are a sponsored worker or planning to become one, verify that your employer's sponsor license is active. If your sponsor loses their license, your own immigration position could be affected and you may need to switch to a new licensed employer within the relevant grace periods. This enforcement trend is real, and the numbers show a sharp uptick. If you hear talk of a visa ban aimed at a specific country in the news or on social media, look for two concrete things before you panic. First, check whether the Home Office has published a legal instrument or a guidance page naming that nationality with an effective date. Second, check whether reputable outlets like the Financial Times, Reuters, or The Guardian are reporting the same measure with on-the-record statements. In early September, those outlets reported the warning and the policy intent, but not an actual ban list. That distinction is why we say the rhetoric has hardened, but the trigger has not yet been pulled. It is also worth remembering that the UK has other levers besides bans. The government can change salary thresholds, limit dependence in certain routes, tighten financial requirements, or adjust English language rules. It can shift processing priorities or apply extra scrutiny where there are concerns about document fraud or overstaying. Sometimes those quieter changes have more day-to-day impact on applicants than any headline about bans. When the Home Secretary signals a willingness to suspend visas in order to secure faster returns, part of the strategy is to encourage cooperation without necessarily publishing an immediate blacklist. That is what the early September statements indicate. For viewers who like to follow the geopolitics, the Five Eyes context also matters. Coordination with the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand signals that London sees migration enforcement and returns as a shared challenge among close allies. It also suggests that tools used by partners, such as leveraging visa categories to secure readmission agreements, could influence UK practice. Again, the reports do not name target countries definitively. They describe a principle and a possible consequence. The entire point is to nudge counterparts into faster cooperation to avoid restrictions. Let us circle back to the headline you may have seen, visa bans. As of today, the documented examples are targeted and specific. Nationals of Trinidad and Tobago now require visas where they previously did not and had a grace period that ended in late April 2025. Employers are facing far tougher consequences if they misuse the sponsorship system, with almost 2,000 licenses revoked in 1 year. And governments that refuse to take back their nationals after asylum refusals have been warned that the United Kingdom is prepared to suspend or restrict visas if they do not cooperate. Those are three very different tools, and each has different effects on travelers, students, workers, and families. If you are making plans, here is a sensible way to stay ahead. Before you book, read the official page for your nationality on the government website and confirm whether you need a visa, an electronic travel authorization, or something else. If you are already in the UK with a sponsored role, make sure your employer's compliance is rock solid and that your own records, like payslips and address history, are complete. If you are from a country mentioned in the recent reporting about returns, keep an eye on follow-up announcements, because a conditional warning can turn into a formal policy if negotiations fail. The best defense is accurate, up-to-the-minute information pulled directly from primary sources. To finish, here is the bottom line. There has not been a sweeping, universal ban on visas in the United Kingdom. There has been a credible warning of visa suspensions for non-cooperation on returns, a real and immediate change for travelers from Trinidad and Tobago who now require visas, and a serious ramp-up of enforcement against employers who break the rules. If you cut through the noise and focus on the official notices and the most reliable outlets, you will be able to plan confidently, avoid bad information, and respond quickly if your situation changes. We will keep watching the official updates and the top-tier reporting so you do not have to. If this helped you separate fact from hype, subscribe for more explainers built on primary sources, not rumors. And tell me in the comments where you are in your visa journey, because your questions will shape the next video.